You've heard it before, right? That's the way we've always done it. It sounds harmless, but it might just be one of the most dangerous phrases in any organization. Today, we're going to dig into why, by looking at an environment where failing to rethink things isn't just a mistake, it's literally the difference between life and death.
Our story starts with these pretty chilling words, spoken 250 miles above our heads. So I want you to imagine you're an astronaut on a spacewalk. You're floating in the vastness of space, and you feel something wet. That's exactly what happened to astronaut Luca Parmitano back in 2013.
So picture this, it's only his second time ever doing a spacewalk. Everything's going perfectly, totally routine, until he feels this weird, wet sensation inside his helmet. At first, it's just a curiosity, right? Maybe his drink bag is leaking, no big deal. He reports it and keeps on working.
But then the water keeps coming, and it's not just a few drops anymore. It starts building up, forming these globs that float right over his eyes, completely blinding him. Then it fills his nose, so he can't breathe. And then his radio cuts out. Just like that, he's totally alone, in the dark, and he's drowning in space.
It's an absolute miracle he made it back. He had to navigate completely blind just by feeling the tension on his safety cord. When his crewmates finally managed to yank his helmet off, they found 1.5 quarts of water inside. Think about that. He was seconds away from dying.
So what happened here? Was it just a broken part? Well, yeah, the technical fix was easy. They just replaced a bad pump. But when they investigated, they found something way more disturbing. See, on his first spacewalk, Luca had also noticed a little bit of water. The team figured, it's probably the drink bag, swapped it out and just moved on. They had normalized a small problem without ever asking why it happened.
And here's the really scary part. This was not a one-off thing. This failure to question a minor issue, this tendency to just accept it because things worked out okay before, it's part of a dangerous pattern, even at a place as brilliant as NASA.
When you look at it like this, it is just chilling. 1986, the Challenger disaster. Engineers knew the O-rings were a risk in the cold, but previous launches had been fine, so they normalized the risk. 2003, the Columbia. Foam strikes had happened on tons of missions before, so when it happened again, it was brushed off. And then 2013, a little water in the helmet. Same story. In every single case, past success led to a deadly overconfidence.
So what's the root of this? It's something called a performance culture. Now this sounds good, right? Who doesn't want high performance? But when the only thing that matters is flawless execution, people get really attached to their routines. Questioning the way we do things starts to feel like you're not a team player, or worse, like you don't know what you're doing.
Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, it's about making a shift from a performance culture to a learning culture. And the absolute #1 ingredient for that is something called psychological safety.
Let me show you what I mean with this fascinating study. A researcher named Amy Edmondson went into a hospital and looked at different medical teams. She measured how psychologically safe they felt, like could they speak up about mistakes without getting in trouble. And then she counted up the errors, and the results were weird. The teams that said they felt the safest were also the ones reporting the most mistakes. It looked like safety was actually making them sloppy.
But, and this is the key, those were just the reported errors. When an independent observer came in and looked at the actual number of mistakes being made, the whole thing flipped on its head. The high-safety teams weren't making more mistakes. They were just more willing to talk about them. And because they could talk about them, they could learn from them and actually made fewer errors. The other teams, they just hid their mistakes, which meant they were doomed to make them again and again.
This is so important. Psychological safety is not about being nice or lowering standards. It's the exact opposite. It's about creating a culture of trust where people feel safe enough to take risks, to challenge the status quo, and to say, hey, I think I messed up, all in the name of doing better work. It's what makes high standards possible.
Okay, but feeling safe is only half the battle. If that's all you have, you just end up in a comfort zone where nothing gets done. To create a true learning culture, you have to pair psychological safety with a second crucial ingredient, accountability.
And it has to be the right kind of accountability. See, most places focus on outcome accountability. Did you succeed or fail? That's what NASA was doing. A launch that didn't explode was a success, even if they got lucky. But process accountability is different. It judges the quality of the thinking behind a decision. It rewards you for being thorough and for challenging assumptions, even if the final result isn't what you hoped for.
And this is where it all comes together beautifully. If you have low safety and low accountability, nobody cares. That's the apathy zone. If you have high accountability but no safety, everyone is terrified of making a mistake. That's the anxiety zone. But when you combine high psychological safety with high process accountability, that's the sweet spot. That is the learning zone.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually get there? Let's look at a few really powerful real-world ways to build this learning zone.
So how do you build psychological safety? I love this example. Melinda Gates at the Gates Foundation actually took part in a video where she read mean reviews about herself from employee surveys, including this one. By being able to laugh at herself and take criticism with humility, she sent a powerful message to everyone in the organization. It's safe to speak up here, even to me.
And what about process accountability? Well, after the Columbia disaster, astronaut Ellen Ochoa came up with a brilliantly simple tool. She started carrying a note card into meetings with these questions on it. Just by asking things like, what might happen if your assumption is wrong? She forced everyone to stop, slow down, and defend the quality of their thinking, not just their final answer.
Amazon does something similar, but they build it right into their system. If you want to propose a big idea, you can't just throw together a PowerPoint. You have to write a detailed 6-page memo, and meetings start with everybody sitting in silence and reading it. It forces rigorous thinking up front and totally short-circuits groupthink.
So, when you put all these pieces together, what does it all add up to? Well, it points to a really fundamental shift in how we should think about getting better.
You see, in a performance culture, everyone's obsessed with finding best practices. But here's the trap. The second you call something the best, you stop questioning it. You freeze it in time. A true learning culture understands that there is no final destination. The goal isn't to find the best way, it's to stay curious and always be searching for a better way.
And that really brings the question back to all of us, doesn't it? So I want you to think about your own world, your job, your team, even just your daily habits. What's one thing you do just because that's the way we've always done it? And what amazing things might happen if you started to ask, is there a better way?